show that's all about getting you truly informed and doing it quickly. You know, we're living through this incredible pace of change, aren't we? AI popping up everywhere, cloud use just keeps climbing, and businesses are, well, scrambling to keep up. But who are the people actually steering this? So today we're taking a deep dive into this really fascinating high-impact world of the AI and cloud migration consultant. Think of this as your shortcut, your essential guide to understanding a role that's, frankly, shaping how industries are going to work. We've been digging into the AI and Cloud Migration Consultants Guide by Claudia, Reid, who's a major voice in this area. Our goal here is simple. Pull out the most useful, actionable stuff from her work for you, giving you that valuable edge, that shortcut to being properly informed. Okay, so let's unpack this then. We hear so much about the technology, the AI, the cloud, but who are these people making these huge shifts happen? What exactly is an AI and cloud migration consultant? How do they even begin to tackle mixing cutting-edge AI with, often creaky old legacy systems?
That's a really great place to start because it's so much more than just a job title, right? Claudia Reid calls them the architect of digital transformation. And what's really powerful about that idea when you think about how businesses operate is they're part strategist, but also part engineer and definitely part visionary. They're the ones bridging that huge gap you often see between what the execs want, more revenue, better efficiency, whatever, and what the tech teams can actually build using things like machine learning and cloud platforms. They're literally dragging old systems into the future, making them ready for what's next with AI and cloud tech. So why does this role really matter for a business? I mean, think about it. Companies are drowning in data, stuck with old tech, these consultants. They can save clients millions. And not just by automating things or helping make smarter decisions, though that's huge. They also drive real innovation, making businesses faster, more competitive. They're translators, essentially, taking complex tech talk and turning it into, actual business impact that stakeholders can see and understand. Growth, ROI, that kind of thing. Their job covers a lot of ground. Discovery, planning, actually doing the migration, integrating the AI, working with different teams, teaching the client, keeping an eye on performance. It's a big list, and being good at this isn't just about the tech skills, although obviously those are crucial. Claudia really hits on this. You need strategic thinking. You've got to understand the IT and the business model. Communication is massive. You're talking to engineers 1 minute, the C-suite the next, and deep technical chops in cloud, AI tools, data pipelines, APIs, that's the foundation. But here's where it gets interesting. Adaptability. Every client's different. Every project's a new puzzle. And maybe the most important thing, business empathy. Understanding the nervous CFO worried about the budget or the ops team anxious about things breaking. It's a business critical role, no doubt. Needs a whole package, hard skills and soft skills.
That makes total sense. It's that blend. So, okay, day one, that first impression, building trust, you said is critical. What comes right after that? Does Claudia suggest they just dive straight into fixing things, or is it more about laying groundwork?
Absolutely not jumping into solutions. The first, say, 30 days are all about foundation setting. It's definitely not the time for quick fixes. It's about getting the complete picture, understanding where the real problems are, where the value is leaking, and then building a roadmap that actually makes sense for that specific client. So one of the very first things is a deep technical audit, looking at their old systems, their data setup, security, how they're using the cloud now, how mature their AI efforts are, if any. You might use tools like the AWS Well Architected tool or Azure Migrate, maybe Dynatrace for performance. The goal is to produce a clear tech gap assessment report. Where are they now versus where they need to be? Then you start defining actual use cases for AI and cloud. You're hunting for those quick wins. Ask about tasks that are super repetitive or decisions they're making without good data or just where they're hemorrhaging time and money. It could be automating customer service chats, using ML for inventory forecasting, maybe boosting cybersecurity. You end up with something like a use case matrix, basically, a prioritized list of what to tackle. And it's absolutely vital to work with the DevOps and data teams. You're not storming in to take over. You're a partner. Speak their language, respect their workflows. Finally, you draft the initial roadmap, a visual plan, maybe a 30, 60, 90-day transformation roadmap. It shows the milestones, who does what, the timeline, gets everyone aligned. So by the end of that first month, success looks like this. You've built trust, you've mapped the current state versus the target, you've got documented use cases everyone agrees on, and you have that initial roadmap signed off. The whole point of these first 30 days, make sure whatever you do next actually solves the right problems for that business.
That's a really solid framework for starting out. So, okay, foundation set. Then comes the first years. This is where the real change happens, right? Moving from finding problems to actually delivering solutions. How does Claudia suggest structuring that here to make sure the value sticks?
Yeah, it definitely breaks down into phases. Phase 1, maybe months 2 and 3, is all about quick wins. Think migrating a low risk app to the cloud, maybe launching a simple AI chatbot from one department, automating a small workflow. The goal here is super clear: build confidence, get some momentum going, and show some early ROI. Make it visible, tangible. Then you move into core systems migration. That's roughly months 4 to 7. This is the heavier lifting, moving those crucial mission critical apps, making sure they're stable, secure, and starting to embed AI into key processes like financial forecasting or maybe fraud detection. This phase is where you demonstrate real systemic change. And finally, months 8 to 12 are about optimization and scaling.
Training the client's own team to manage the new stuff, building dashboards so they can track performance, setting up feedback loops so things keep improving. The big goal here is handing over the keys, basically, transitioning ownership so they aren't dependent on you long term. That's how you ensure it lasts. And throughout that whole year, it's just critical to focus on delivering business value, not just, a list of tech features. You're trying to boost their bottom line, make them more efficient, give them an edge. Claudia really hammers this home. Frame your successes in business terms, like we cut invoice processing time by 85% using AI, or we save $230,000 a year on infrastructure with this cloud setup. Always speak their language. Time saved, cost cut, revenue up. That's what resonates. That's the real measure.
Right, and that leads straight into a really important question. How do you make sure all that value doesn't just evaporate once the consultant leaves? The key is training and empowering the client's own team. You have to build their capability before you wrap up. That means coaching their project managers on running AI projects, teaching their engineers the ropes on maintaining the new systems, creating really good documentation like handbooks, and maybe even identifying and nurturing internal AI champions who can keep driving things forward. The deliverable might be a full knowledge transfer playbook, and you absolutely have to keep tracking those key performance indicators, the KPIs, system performance uptime, speed, AI accuracy, how good are the predictions, user adoption, are people actually using the new tools, and crucially, business impact ROI, customer satisfaction scores. Tools like Tableau, Power BI, Azure Monitor, maybe MLflow, they become essential for keeping tabs on all this. It's also just as important to show these results effectively. You need clear visuals, strong before and after comparisons. Delivering an end-of-year impact report that tells a compelling story of transformation, not just dumping data. All of this really sets the stage perfectly if there's potential for more work later, because you've proven undeniable value.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about navigating the organization itself, especially working within a DevOps culture. For these consultants, that means understanding things like CI/CD pipelines, yeah, but also how AI models are becoming part of that build process and how cloud platforms provide that scalable base. It's about tapping into their speed, not getting in the way. So collaborating effectively there. Well, first, you need to get familiar with their tools, their specific CI/CD setup, maybe Kubernetes if they're using containers, Git for code, obviously. Then you work with them to build an AI and cloud-friendly process. That might mean figuring out model versioning, deploying models using Docker or Kubeflow. The key is partnership, regular sync-ups, shared task management, not dictating, collaborating. And the core principle here is test early, test often. You need to weave model validation and cloud deployment checks right into their existing testing routines.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is how the consultant often acts as a translator in that DevOps world. A bridge, really. They help tackle common friction points like teams working in silos or people being nervous about AI being a black box they can't understand, or, the classic fear of cloud costs spiraling out of control. You succeed by enhancing their flow, not by trying to impose something totally alien, making AI and cloud feel like a natural evolution of how they already work quickly. And if we zoom out a bit, this collaboration extends to other key teams too. Take the project management office, the PMO. They usually care about control, predictability, making sure things are compliant. So how do you win them over? You map your AI project onto their frameworks, you give them proper plans, maybe you'd even offer training for their own PMs on AI specifics. Then there are the data teams, the scientists, engineers, analysts. You need to get on the same page about data definitions, governance, what tools you'll share. Your role is often translating the business need to something they can build an algorithm for, and then translating their technical results back into business impact. And with executives, it's all about ROI, efficiency gains, innovation, staying ahead of the competition. You use dashboards, clear before and after stories, and you always have a plan for managing risks.
Okay, what about stakeholders outside the day-to-day teams, like investors or the project sponsor?
Right. Investors, they primarily care about growth and returns. So communication needs to be about projections, timelines to profitability, how scalable the whole thing is. Sponsors, usually senior execs championing the project internally, need regular updates on the impact you're making. They also need your help managing any resistance inside the company, and importantly, they need to get public credit for the project's wins. It helps them, helps the project.
And then there's the legal team. This can feel like navigating a minefield sometimes. You've got data privacy, GDPR, CCPA, IAPA, depending on the industry and location, intellectual property for any custom AI models you build, questions about where automation stops and starts, AI transparency. Can you explain why the AI made a decision? It's complex. You'll definitely encounter NDAs, SRWs, MSAs, maybe data processing agreements. Regular executive steering meetings become vital for hashing out these critical legal and risk points. And as Claudia puts it, you really need to speak three languages: legal, financial, and technical. Fluently. Being trilingual. That's a great way to put it. Okay, let's talk business skills now. Specifically, the AI sales pitch. Because like you said, if you can't sell the vision, nothing happens. Claudia Reid really emphasizes starting with the problem, not the tech. Clients aren't buying AI, are they? They're buying a solution to something painful. Less grunt work, better decisions, more money. You lead with that pain point they experience every day, then you introduce AI or cloud as the way to solve it elegantly. She offers this really neat PATH framework for pitching executives. P is her problem. Your team spends 60% of its time just prepping data. A is aspiration. Imagine cutting that in half, freeing them up for actual analysis. T is tech strategy. We'll deploy an ML pipeline to auto-clean your data. H is hard ROI. That directly saves you an estimated $300K a year in productivity.
Yeah.
And you absolutely have to tailor that pitch. The CEO cares about different things than the CFO or the CIO or legal. And you need answers ready for their common objections like, oh, we kind of do that already, or isn't AI super expensive and complicated?
Exactly, and what's fascinating then is how you demonstrate progress. Visibility drives results, as the saying goes. That means smart project management using KPIs, integrating with their CRM, and really clear reporting. You've got to track the right KPIs. Technical stuff like uptime and model accuracy, sure, but also business impact, cost savings, lead conversion lift, and user experience. Are people happy using it? It's about connecting the dots between the tech work and real business growth. Integrating with the client's CRM, Salesforce, HubSpot, whatever they use is actually crucial. Why? Because then you can directly link your AI features to things like customer retention numbers or lead quality scores right there in the system they use every day. It makes the ROI undeniable. Plus, AI can boost the CRM itself, think auto-scoring leads or better sales forecasting. Beyond the CRM, you build a client success dashboard. Use tools like Power BI, Tableau, Looker Studio maybe. Show those KPIs live, keep it dynamic, and establish a rhythm for reporting. Maybe weekly updates for the core team, a monthly summary for execs, quarterly for investors. Claudia has a great tip. Always make the client the hero in your success stories. It's their transformation. And of course, build in a constant feedback loop. You need that to keep evolving and improving.
Making the client the hero. I like that. Okay, let's get into the nitty gritty. What methodologies are these consultants actually using on the ground? Is there one standard approach?
Well, there isn't really one secret sauce, no. But having a methodology is like having a compass, and it definitely helps manage risk. You see a few common frameworks pop up. Agile AI delivery is popular, using sprints for iterative model building. QuizDM is a classic, especially for data-heavy projects. It covers everything from understanding the business need right through to deployment. Then there's DevOps plus MLOps, which is essential if you're deploying AI models continuously and managing them in production. For just moving infrastructure, you've got the cloud migration methodology, often using the 6 R's: rehost, replatform, refactor, repurchase, retire, retain. You figure out which R applies to each application. But honestly, most experienced consultants end up creating a custom hybrid methodology. They blend elements from these different frameworks to perfectly fit the client's situation. Using RACI charts, responsible, accountable, consulted, informed is also super common to clarify roles on tasks. And the really smart ones, they bake in governance, risk, and compliance checks right from the very beginning. It's not an afterthought.
Got it. So it's flexible but structured. What about the tools themselves? What's typically in the AI tools and project management stack? That toolbox must be pretty important for getting things done efficiently.
Oh, absolutely essential. It covers a few key categories. For data analytics, you've got your SQL databases, maybe visualization tools like Tableau or Power BI. For machine learning, you'll see libraries like TensorFlow or PyTorch, or cloud platforms built-in services like Azure ML or SageMaker. The cloud platforms themselves, AWS, Azure, GCP, are obviously foundational. Then there are the MLOps and DevOps tools. Git for version control, Docker, or Kubernetes for containers, maybe MLflow or kubeflow for managing machine learning lifecycle. And don't forget, collaboration and project management tools, Jira, Slack, Teams, Asana, Notion, whatever, keeps the project moving and communicating communication flowing. Integrating all this with the client's CRM, their KPI dashboards, maybe even their ERP system. That ensures the AI insights actually feed into the systems the business already runs on. And there's always that strategic build versus buy decision lurking. Do we build a custom model or leverage an existing SaaS tool?
Often, it ends up being a bit of both, a hybrid approach.
Okay, and what if you're not just a solo consultant, but you need to build and lead a whole team for a bigger project? What does that look like? Yeah, building and leading an AI consulting team. You start by defining the core roles you'll need. Probably an AI consultant lead, a cloud architect, data scientist, a DevOps engineer, a project manager. When hiring, Claudia suggests looking past just the technical skills on the resume. Look for genuine curiosity, people who are good at dealing with clients directly and who have a solid ethical compass. Training is ongoing, both technical upskilling and sharpening those crucial soft skills like communication and strategic thinking. You're essentially building a DevOps-driven project team, one that can deliver quickly and iteratively. Fostering a culture of ownership is key, making sure everyone understands the why behind the project and feels responsible for its success. And just like the client project, you manage your own team's performance with clear goals and KPIs. And just to circle back on something critical we touched on earlier, legal, compliance, and risk management. These really are essential guardrails, right? Not things to be avoided, but things to be managed proactively. You'll deal with standard contracts like NDAs and master service agreements, sure. But AI throws in unique challenges, data privacy concerns, who owns the intellectual property of a trained model, ensuring accountability if an automated decision goes wrong, explainability requirements. Working closely with the client's internal legal and risk teams isn't optional, it's mandatory. You need to stay aware of regulations like GDPR, IPA, the new EU AI Act as it evolves. Concrete risk mitigation steps are vital. Pilot testing before full rollout, building explainability features into models, using strong data encryption, and ultimately, protecting yourself as a consultant means having solid contracts, professional liability insurance, and meticulous project documentation.
What an incredibly thorough overview. It really paints a picture of a demanding but hugely impactful role. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's look ahead. Becoming the AI consultant of the future. Claudia, Reid makes the point that this role is so much more than a technician, doesn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. You're a strategist, you're a diplomat navigating different departments, you're managing change, you're telling the story of the transformation, and you're building trust as a partner. You need to be fluent in code, yes, but also fluent in boardroom dynamics. The future-ready skills that matter most reflect that. It's not just about knowing the latest AI model. It's emotional intelligence to handle tricky stakeholder situations, systems thinking to grasp the whole interconnected business, top-notch executive communication, a deep understanding of ethics and governance in AI, even sales psychology to build consensus. And staying relevant means embracing the big trends. Generative AI, AI running closer to where data is created. Edge AI, navigating the evolving AI regulations, mastering multi-cloud environments.
Building your own leadership brand through writing, speaking, showcasing your work, that's also becoming increasingly important for standing out and making a bigger impact. Well, we've certainly covered a massive amount of ground today, exploring the breadth and depth of what it takes to be an AI and cloud migration consultant. Hopefully this deep dive has given you, our listener, a real shortcut to grasping the practicalities, the challenges, and the immense value this role delivers. I think the core takeaway, for me at least, isn't just about the specific technologies which will keep changing, but it's about that human skill of guiding complex transformation effectively.
And perhaps a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. AI is the tool. You are the solution. Think about how the principles we've discussed, understanding the whole picture, building trust, focusing on impact, collaborating across boundaries, how you might apply those, not just in a tech context, but in bringing clarity to any kind of chaos or complex challenge you might be facing.